Welcome everyone. The purpose of this video is purely academic and instructional, to explore the psychological mechanisms of political power, the dynamics of autocratic isolation, and the structural factors behind regime. Decay through the combined analytical lenses of political criminology, international political psychology, and classical philosophical frameworks. This presentation does not target, refer to, or criticize any specific individual or current political figure. Instead, it aims to examine universal patterns of human behavior and statecraft that have recurred throughout international history. If you find this interdisciplinary analysis insightful, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking this video, and sharing it with others who share an interest in political science and psychology. Your support enables us to continue producing deep, research-driven content. Why do humans cling to power until the very end? Lessons from Political Criminology, International Political Psychology, and the Bardo Thodol. Greetings. Today, as we synthesize our previous discussions, I would like to pose a fundamental question. Why do human beings cling to power until the very end, even when its collapse appears inevitable? This question is not unique to any single nation or specific leader. It represents a recurring psychological phenomenon throughout human history. International political psychology teaches us that what drives a nation is not merely military capacity or economic might, but the internal psychology of the individuals who hold power. Political criminology delves even deeper, analyzing how prolonged exposure to authority causes leaders to equate power with their very existence. Subconsciously, a dangerous cognitive shift takes place. I am not merely a person holding power. I am power itself. It is precisely at this juncture that tragedy begins. Power does not change people. It amplifies them. It is often said that power corrupts. However, psychological research offers a more nuanced explanation. Power does not create a fundamentally new human being. Rather, it magnifies pre-existing human desires. Initially, a leader may pledge to exercise authority solely for the welfare of the public. Over time, however, the imperative shifts. They begin using the public to protect their authority. Initially, they draft laws to serve society. Eventually, they come to believe that their personal will supersedes the law. They start with a willingness to sacrifice for the state, but ultimately come to believe that the state exists to serve them. In political criminology, this phenomenon is conceptualized as power identification. When leaders reach this stage, losing power is no longer perceived merely as losing office or state authority. It feels like the total annihilation of the self. This is why they remain incapable of stepping down, even at the final moment. The psychology of isolation in international politics. Power elevates individuals to great heights, but it simultaneously places them in profound isolation. International political psychology demonstrates that during prolonged rule, leaders increasingly suffer from information closure, a condition in which they hear only what they desire to hear. Subordinates prioritize telling the leader what pleases them over reporting objective facts. The surrounding institution gradually shifts its function from processing reality to maintaining the leader's belief system. Consequently, the leader ceases to live among the public and begins residing within a self-constructed reality. As the gap between reality and perception widens, a tipping point arrives where reality can no longer be concealed. When the economy falters, the international community turns away, and internal trust erodes. All previously hidden systemic vulnerabilities surface simultaneously. Betrayal is not the opposite of loyalty. Many view betrayal as the simple antithesis of loyalty. However, political criminology offers a different perspective. Betrayal is often not a result of lost loyalty, but a rationalized choice that emerges the moment. Survival takes precedence over allegiance. Members within an inner circle of power often share long histories. They have served in the same institution, pursued shared objectives, and navigated common dangers. Yet, when a critical crisis strikes, all complex motivations condense into a single question: who will survive? The moment this question becomes paramount, the organization loses its original character. Game theory models this dynamic through the prisoner's dilemma. The fear that if I remain silent, my associate may speak first, combined with the terror that if the other party acts first, I will bear sole responsibility, becomes the primary driver of human behavior. The final bardo, insights from the Tibetan's Book of the Dead. At this stage, we are reminded of a profound teaching from the Bardo Thadal, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. The text observes that at the moment of death, human beings suffer intensely because they refuse to let go of what they have clung to throughout their lives. Yet the objects of their attachment are not permanent realities, but constructs of their own minds. Applying this insight to political power reveals a profound truth. Power, honor, and wealth are inherently transient. Nevertheless, individuals mistake these external constructs for their core essence, feeling as though their world has ended when they lose them. As the Bardo Thadal cautions, suffering arises not from loss itself, but from attachment. The torment stems not from the departure of power, but from the illusory belief that power ought to be eternal. Universal lessons from Eastern philosophy. Eastern philosophical traditions have reflected this concept for millennia. The Kajintan Vegetable Roots Discourse notes that which is excessively full cannot endure for long. The Laozi Tao Te Ching states, the rigid and unbending will break, the soft and yielding will survive. The I Ching, Book of Changes, teaches when fullness is reached, decline begins. Upon declining, transformation occurs. All three traditions converge on a single principle. Power changes, states change, and the international order changes. The only constant is change itself. International political psychology aligns with this view, emphasizing that the global order undergoes continuous realignment. There are no permanent superpowers, nor are there permanently weak nations. There are no eternal enemies, nor eternal allies, only national interest and constant change. Human existence follows the exact same rule. Key takeaways for contemporary analysis. Through historical case studies, we observe the complex interplay between power structures and human psychology. While each historical and political context possesses unique variables that cannot be reduced to a single framework, political criminology and international political psychology highlight vital commonalities. 1. Power can empower individuals, but it can equally blind them to reality. 2. Fear may temporarily enforce organizational cohesion, but over time, it fosters mutual paranoia. 3. Attachment drives individuals to cling to authority, yet that very attachment becomes the source of their ultimate downfall. The Bardo Thadal is fundamentally not a book about death, but a treatise on how to live. Similarly, international political psychology and political criminology ultimately pose the same underlying question. Do human beings exist for power, or should power exist for human beings? The moment this distinction is forgotten, any organization, state, or individual risks becoming trapped within a labyrinth of their own making. History repeats itself, but those who study history can mitigate its errors. Power inevitably wanes. Fame fades. Wealth dissipates. However, restraint, integrity, and the courage to seek truth endure in human memory long after power has passed. This is the enduring legacy of Eastern philosophy, and perhaps the ultimate lesson of the Bardo Thadal. Thank you very much for engaging with today's lecture. I hope this discussion offered a useful perspective on the psychological and structural dimensions of political power. We will continue to explore the intersections of international politics, political criminology, history, and philosophy to better understand our changing world. If you found this lecture valuable, please subscribe, like, and share this content. Your continued interest and support are the driving forces behind our ongoing research and educational efforts. Thank you.